Either you want to confront tyranny everywhere or you don't. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 FM WBAP. Welcome to the big show. Good to see you too. Slow down. Let me get started here. Because what we have going on in Iran, you know, you and I recognize this isn't happening in a vacuum. The Straits of Hormuz are blocked. We bombed the snot out of them. We've killed a bunch of their leaders and their second in commands and half of their bench and the AAA minor league team. They're down to like the AA guy now. Straits of Hormuz are being blocked. Oil prices are high. The economy's getting a little nervous. There's all kinds of negative consequences going on here. But you and I recognize this isn't about Iran specifically. When you take out Iran, you take out Venezuela, you take out Cuba, all of a sudden China doesn't have any support. So I think this is just a realigning of the political order on all of planet Earth. But there's a guy here who was, he's a Middle Easterner. He's from one of the little emirates down there. And he had somehow got roped into being an MI6 spy. Which MI6 is James Bond, isn't that his bit? He's MI, or is he MI5? I don't know what the fives are. Britain just number stuff. Like we got BBC One. Okay, well, what's this channel? BBC Two. What's that channel? BBC Three. All right, you guys are worthless. So he ended up working as a spy with those guys, infiltrating Al Qaeda. His name is Ayman Dean, and he wrote a tweet that I've been thinking about it half the day since I read it this morning. Sorry, it's long, but I'm going to read you the whole thing. He says, I genuinely don't know whether to laugh or lose my mind anymore at this European hypocritical double standards. Now, remember, he's in the Middle East, so he's griping about Europe. You could change that for European and also add in American liberals or American Democrats, hypocritical double standards. When it comes to Vladimir Putin, suddenly it's Churchillian resolve. No compromise, no dialogue. Arm Ukraine to the teeth. Sanction everything that moves. Wreck your own energy security if necessary, because tyranny must be confronted. Fine. Now, hang on. Let me pause right there. He's right. When it was time to support Ukraine and gas prices went up, people still supported Ukraine. They still had the Ukraine flag. Some of these same people who are griping about Iran now were waving around Ukrainian flags in the streets of Dallas. Okay, I continue with the tweet. He says, but then you turn around and lecture us, the Gulf monarchies, Jordan and Israel, about showing restraint with Tehran, about dialogue, about coexistence. Are you serious? For 40 years, for 40 bloody years, this regime has been waging a shadow war across the region. Militias, proxies, sleeper cells, terror networks, destabilizing entire countries, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, and threatening the Gulf monarchies, Jordan and Israel, nonstop. This isn't theoretical. This isn't abstract. This is lived reality. And yet here come Emmanuel Macron, Keir Starmer, and the rest of the European choir gently advising us to calm down, de-escalate, and what was it again? Give diplomacy a chance? Diplomacy with who exactly? With a system that has built its entire regional strategy on plausible deniability and proxy terror violence? You are willing to absorb inflation, energy shocks, and political backlash at home to confront Moscow. You made that choice. You said this is the price of standing up to a tyrant. So don't come here and tell us, after decades of being on the receiving end, that we should just sit down, smile politely, and coexist. Either you believe in confronting tyranny everywhere, or you don't. There you go. Little consistency would be nice, and I think you nailed it. Now, as far as the updates on what is going on in Iran, I have a guest coming up in the next segment that's going to be able to talk a little bit more about the nuts and the bolts of the actual situation on the ground. Here, though, what we can look at domestically, wow, you don't have to have military expertise to know that this is going to be rough on the midterms. This is going to have an effect if it's not resolved soon. And if it is resolved soon, then you can just ignore these next couple of sentences because we have a short memory span. And 6 months from now, we won't even remember where Iran is on the map. I mean that sarcastically. But also, Trump recognizes that historically the midterms are tough for the incumbent president. He was talking about that this morning with Maria Bartiromo.
When somebody gets elected president, that party always loses the midterms. I don't know why. Nobody can explain it. I ask people that are deep into the psychological world, I said, why is it that a voter votes for the opposite party? It's even when you have a good president. I think I had the greatest year, the greatest opening year I've read, the greatest. Look, I ended 8 wars. A 9th is coming. But I ended 8 wars. Nobody's ever ended 1 war. Who's ended 1? Nobody. I ended 8. We have the biggest tax cuts ever. We have the biggest regulation cuts ever. The greatest economy ever, pretty much including the fact that I took a detour into Iran in order to stop something that could have destroyed the world, right? But even when you have a great president, they tend to lose the midterms.
Okay, so the criticism in the comment section under that comment is a whole lot of he's lying, he's wrong, and then they're fact checking. This isn't the greatest economy ever. This isn't the greatest first year a president has ever had. There has been other presidents who have ended wars because he said, some other presidents haven't ended one. We got it, okay? But if you're not used to it by now, it's getting ridiculous. We've known this guy for 10 years. He's been on the public stage every day of your existence for about the last 11 years if you count the presidential election cycle in 2016. He talks in hyperbole. He's never going to say this is an above average economy or this economy is in the right direction or the economy is turning a corner. He is always going to say this is the greatest economy in history. He's not going to say this is the greatest economy in the last 5 months. It's always going to be of all time. For those of you who are new to the show, this is just how he talks, and it's a specific strategy that he uses. He calls it truthful hyperbole, and he talked about it in The Art of the Deal. I keep bringing up this book, and I tell you to read it, and you're not going to read it, so I'll bring you some clips whenever it overlaps with the show and what I've been telling you. This is from the audiobook of Art of the Deal, where he explains this is why he talks like that. It's truthful hyperbole.
People may not always think big themselves, but they can still get very excited by those who do. That's why a little hyperbole never hurts. People want to believe that something is the biggest and the greatest and the most spectacular. I call it truthful hyperbole. It's an innocent form of exaggeration and a very effective form of promotion.
That's it. It's just promotion. It's how he talks. It connects. It's worked thus far. And if you're not used to it by now, you haven't been paying attention, and you probably just have Trump derangement syndrome. All right, now coming up next, we have a special guest, Colonel Wes Martin, who's going to give you an update on the X's and O's in the war with Iran, blocking the Straits of Hormuz, how this is going to have ripple effects on China. How long can Iran last with the Hormuz blockaded? We'll ask him all that next, coming up on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So, how are things really looking on the ground in Iran? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Your home for Markley Van Camp and Robbins. Three funny guys on Before the James Show with a bunch of stories you'll never hear anywhere else. My next guest, you've probably seen him on TV by now. Colonel Wes Martin coming on the James Show. And listen, I need your help. I know you've been retired from the military for, 15, 16 years now, but you definitely know more than I do because some of these seems like all obvious questions that a lot of us have. Number one is Donald Trump said he's going to use our Navy to go through and open the Straits of Hormuz and remove all the mines and blow up any boats who try and interfere with traffic. Why weren't we doing that on day one? I assumed we were doing that on day one, Colonel West. So let's talk about the Straits of Hormuz. If Iran wants their ships to go through but blocks everyone else, and then we go and we block through the ones that they don't, that they want to go through, the whole thing's blockaded. How long can Iran survive under those conditions? Yeah. So you're just saying we should find the biggest resistance group and sponsor a coup? So you've been in contact with these people. You kind of casually mentioned there. Who are some of the other players? Because I hear about the possibility of Iran splintering off and the Baluchistan in the southeast, and maybe the Kurds take a chunk in the northwest, and there's the Caspian people right up there in the north. Tell me about the disparate groups that are in Iran right now against the Ayatollahs. Where was this at? Okay. Well, I remember hearing something about that story, but not nearly that level of detail. Okay. Well, look, the president keeps saying that this war is going to be over soon, and he's now been saying that for a couple weeks. Is he just trying to do good PR, or do you think, Colonel Wes Martin, that this really could be over soon? How do we get out of this then? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, good stuff. Colonel Wes Martin, thank you very much. That was a lot of new info, and I really appreciate you being on the James Show. All right, coming up next, J.D. Vance responds to the criticism from the Pope when he says, God is never with those who wield the sword. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, we're getting some bad weather, aren't we? We're going to get some more bad weather this weekend. Listen, if you have hail, if you're in a hailstorm, you probably need to call Blue Ribbon Roofing to come check out your roof. If you see dents after a hailstorm that weren't there before, you definitely need to call Blue Ribbon Roofing. Even if there's not hail, if there's just a lot of wind and rain and you see a shingle missing, you probably want to call Blue Ribbon Roofing because there is no downside. They come out there, and if there's nothing wrong, then it doesn't cost you anything. John will leave you a free folder with a bunch of info in it. You'll learn more about shingles than you could ever want to know in that folder. I know, I went through it. I got one myself. I did this. And he'll just give you a high five, but it'll be great because he takes a bunch of pictures and we create some paperwork and a record. So the next time there is a storm and we do have a problem with your roof, we can use that to get the insurance company to just fall over because we have a nice baseline to work with. See, this is what it looked like when we called Blue Ribbon in April of 2026. This is what it looks like now, and that'll really grease the whole process. But here's the good news. If you do need help with your roof, Blue Ribbon will take care of that insurance problem for you. They've done it thousands of times. You don't even have to worry about it. So go to blueribbondfw.com. And you're thinking about that Saturday Night Live skit right now, aren't you? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So the Pope had criticized the Iran war. The Pope said God is not with those who wield the sword, which is a ridiculous thing to say. I understand. You're the Pope. You're supposed to be for peace. Got it. But don't act like God is never on the side of the people who are wielding the sword. We have this misunderstanding in modern America, and this is a big problem with a lot of Western civilization, if we've associated violence with bad. Violence is bad. Well, violence can be bad. Violence isn't always bad. Usually, if you take an otherwise peaceful situation and you insert violence, that's not a good thing. But was it bad? Is violence bad in self-defense? Was violence bad when we were freeing the slaves in the Civil War from the Democrats? Was that violence bad? Is violence bad when a woman fights off her attacker? So no, of course violence isn't always bad. Usually the initiation of the use of force usually determines who's in the wrong in most situations. That's my libertarian worldview peeking its ugly head up. But J.D. Vance was asked about that. He was at an event yesterday, and there's a heckler too. I'll play that afterwards. But the heckler kind of was on the same angle here. War is bad. Okay, we got it. But war's not always bad. So I'll play these out of order. I'll play J.D. Vance answering the Pope's criticism.
So the Pope said something where he said, and I'm gonna try to remember the exact quote, but he said that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword. God is never on the side of those who wield the sword. I'm pretty sure that he said that exact statement. Now, on the one hand, again, I like that the Pope is an advocate for peace. I think that's certainly one of his roles. On the other hand, how can you say that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword? Was God on the side of the Americans who liberated France from the Nazis? Was God on the side of the Americans who liberated Holocaust camps and liberated those innocent people from, those who had survived the Holocaust? I certainly think the answer is yes, and I agree. Jesus Christ does not. I agree. Jesus Christ certainly does not support genocide. Whoever yelled that out from the dark, he certainly does not.
All right, so the protesters, the hecklers, it's so annoying. Jesus doesn't support genocide. Well, that's fine. Neither do I. But you can't say nowhere was genocide ever advocated in the Bible, because I remember when it's time to come back to the Promised Land, Old Testament God was the fun one. He's like, kill everything. Kill everything. Every man, woman, child. Don't even keep their goats. You want to talk about an actual genocide. We use the term genocide. Oh, the Palestinians are being genocided, or trans people are being genocided, or whatever's being genocided these days. No. That was real genocide back in the day. We don't have Canaanites anymore. We don't have Moabites. We don't have Edomites. What happened to all of them? Of course, we don't have Romans either, but they weren't necessarily genocided. But let's address some of this heckle that happens, because look, I get it. This guy's against war. I'm against war. In fact, I'm against this war. I wouldn't have done this if I was president. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, and I don't think Trump is literally Hitler. I will admit the good things can come of it. But I'm generally against this war, so I'm kind of partial to war hecklers. But when the guy's saying, we're killing children, well, that's what's going to happen in any war. That has nothing to do with this war. If you're just against war in general, my next question would be like, are you specifically just against this war, or do you have a history of speaking out against all of our conflicts? Were you this vocal about our involvement in Iran? In Ukraine. I mixed Iran and Ukraine. Iran. Were you this vocal against that? Because if you have a consistency deficit, then I know your complaint is just political. If your complaint is consistent and you're just against all war at all times, we've got it. You don't have to heckle us. It's not even worth talking to you, because we know where you're going to end up. And there's no talking you out of your position. There's no reason you're not even looking for a dialogue. You're just doing the heckler's veto.
When we came in, the humanitarian situation in Gaza was an absolute catastrophe. You know who's the person who got a peace agreement in Gaza? Donald J. Trump. So if you want to complain about what happened in Gaza, So if you want, sir, to complain about what happened in Gaza, why don't you complain about Joe Biden and the last administration? We're the administration that solved that problem. And by the way, not only was our administration like the administration that solved the problem, but the president.
You're killing children. You hear that? You're killing children. So I go back to what I started the show with. The guy that was pointing out the absolute polarized different response to the war in Ukraine, to the war against Iran, really does expose not just hypocrisy, dishonesty. Because when all these people had Ukraine flags in their bio and they were carrying them down Main Street or over here off the, the Margaret Hunt Hill Bridge, or it's right over here by the studio. When it was Ukraine, well, whatever it takes, we have to fight tyranny. What, are you on the side of the tyrant now? Oh my God, you're a puppet of Putin. Well, are these people puppets of the Ayatollahs when they're against this one? Strange change of events here. Because tyranny was supposed to be fought against, even if it resulted in economic shocks, even if it resulted in innocent children being killed. Do you think there's been no innocent children killed in the Ukraine-Russia conflict? Even if it meant higher gas prices, we were supposed to fight it, but we're not supposed to fight it in Iran. The first thing I look for is consistency. And if you don't have it, if your worldview isn't consistent, then something is wrong with your worldview, because mine doesn't have a whole lot of exceptions built into it. I don't think we should have the freedom of speech or the freedoms that are lined up in the Constitution unless there's an emergency. But when we come back, more on the Iran war, Carolyn Levitt, the White House spokesperson, was asked about the Iran ceasefire, and then we're also going to hear from Montana Congressman Matt Sheehy about how this is really all about China. Coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So how long is this ceasefire going to last? How long is this war going to last? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. I've heard them make this the question I have right now. I've heard them talk about it. Donald Trump's been saying for about 2 weeks now that the war's about to end. We are coming up against the original timeline where it was 4 to 6 weeks. We're in week 6, or we haven't completed 6 weeks, but we're almost there. So how long can he say this war is about to end before it starts really losing credibility with people who don't already hate him? There's a lot of people out there, the Whoopi Goldbergs and the Rachel Maddows, doesn't matter. But how long till it actually starts affecting people who support him? How long can he keep saying that before it has a deleterious effect on the midterms? So Carolyn Levitt had a press conference. She was asked about the Iran ceasefire today. This was her response.
Extending the Iran ceasefire, Caroline.
Yes, so I saw some reporting, again, bad reporting this morning, that we had formally requested an extension of the ceasefire. That is not true at this moment. We remain very much engaged in these negotiations, in these talks. You heard from the vice president directly and the president this week that these conversations are productive and ongoing, and that's where we are right now. I've also seen some reporting about the potentiality for in-person discussions again. Those discussions are being had, but nothing is official until you hear it from us here at the White House. But we feel good about the prospects of a deal. The president mentioned that in his interview yesterday. And it's obviously in the best interest of Iran to meet the president's demands. I think he's made his red lines in these negotiations very clear to the other side. And so we are continuing to see how these conversations go.
The other soundbite I think you need to hear today is from Matt Sheehy. He's a Montana congressman. And he was putting this in the wider context that we like to remind you about on the James Show, is the Iran war is not happening in a bubble. You put this together with Venezuela, now Iran. This really looks like a leg sweep of China.
So this isn't just about defeating Islamic extremists. This isn't just about taking out a socialist narco-trafficking dictator in South America. This is about removing linchpins that are upholding a world order where this administration is accused of being nice to Xi and nice to Putin, yet we've taken out the two satellite states that exist as the primary economic drivers of their global discounted energy. So these are absolutely connected. I think your specific question about blockading the straits is a pretty awesome judo move when you have their primary leverage. Let's be clear, when Iran declares we're going to close the straits, that's the equivalent of them going nuclear, because thank God they don't have nukes, because if they did, they would be using them. So us taking that off the table saying, actually, no, we're going to close it. And the reason we're going to close it is we're going to demine it, we're going to secure it, and we're going to make it safe for passage. Is a pretty slick move.
You know, I'm glad to hear that come from someone actually in D.C. for 5 seconds. And I really wish that Trump would be running out with that and have Carolyn Levitt running out with that. And just like, remember, people, this isn't really about Iran as much as this is about China. This wasn't as much. Because do you remember, were you listening 6 months ago when we were blowing up boats in the Caribbean coming from Venezuela? And they're like, yeah, we've got to stop the narco trafficking. It's killing our kids, fentanyl overdoses, yada, yada, yada. This isn't about drugs. Remember I told you that? Who ended up being right about that? This was about regime change. This was about flipping the table in Venezuela. This was about what? Cutting off their biggest cash cow. They had drugs and oil. So what are we doing in Iran right now? Cutting off their biggest cash cow. We already killed their leader, so we've got the same regime change. It just wasn't bloodless like it was in Venezuela. But make no mistake, China is going to be the big loser if we can get a win in Iran. All right, coming up tomorrow is James Show history as the next Parker's Pour is happening. The Omni Fort Worth Hotel. The lobby bar is called Whiskey and Rye. I'm going to be out there for, 5-6 hours tomorrow, because maybe 7 hours, because we're going to do the show live. So you can see a live broadcast, me at a table doing the show with the laptop and microphone and headphones on. It's not really much to look at. We don't have like blinking lights and dancing girls, but you can come out, say hi, meet me, see the show, and then stick around. We're going to play trivia afterwards. Now, the prizes on this keep getting bigger every time we do it. We have so many gift certificates to give away this time around that we're giving away gift certificates every 15 minutes. And all you got to do is show up write your name on the little piece of paper. The promotional table will be sitting there. You put it in a box, and they have to draw names. When we did this last month, here's a little secret of the pros. At the very beginning of the show, not everyone's going to be there. Probably 100 people cycled in and out during the course of the show and trivia and whatnot. But at the very beginning, at 2:15 on the first commercial break, when we gave away the first prize, there was only maybe 20 people there, and only 4 of them had put a piece of paper in the box. So you had a 25% chance of winning a $50 gift certificate to Eatzi's. So we're giving away Eatzi's gift certificate, Awesome Deli, at 2:15. Gigi's, their pastries are actually too good. I try and stay away from them because 800 calories, and I can't stop myself. I love their cupcakes. Then we have a whiskey and rye gift certificate, then another Eatzi's, then another Gigi's. And then we're giving away Rangers tickets at 3:30 and then again at the end of the show. But every 15 minutes, we're giving away a whiskey and rye gift certificate, Gigi's or Eatzi's, and then 2 pairs of Rangers tickets. So come on out to the Parker Pour, and you also get to meet the special guest who will be there for the entire time through the show and trivia, Miss Parker.
Hi, Miss Parker.
And this is her first public WBAP appearance. Coming up next on The James Show, the man who has done the best Eric Swalwell timeline and coverage I have found thus far, Tim Young. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So, how many careers is Eric Swalwell going to end? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. My next guest did some amazing work on this story. His name is Tim Young. And before I read his article via the Dallas Express, I was thinking, man, the timing on this Eric Swalwell jettison is kind of suspicious with the California's gubernatorial race going on. And then I read his article, and now there's absolutely no doubt. Absolutely no doubt. If you're not familiar with his work, you should be. Tim Young, welcome back to the James Show. You know, I think of you as someone who hosts a stream. You know, I've not really as acquainted with your writing skills, but man, you had everything just laid out. The timeline was better than anyone else had done it. You had all the links to everyone else's tweets in there. And explain to the person who's just stumbling on this story how Loctite your explanation is on the Eric Swalwell not being a coincidence. Yeah. Right. And so the timing of this is just absolutely nailed. And once we know that, once you establish and you have absorbed this really is all about the governor's race, then you have to sort of backfill in some other conclusions. That means people knew about this and they waited until it was useful to use this against him. So now, because we have established your first timeline, that means there's some other people who are guilty of a different crime of withholding information about. I mean, do you think people knew about the rapes or what? So, look, not to zoom out too much here, but couldn't that have been Jeffrey Epstein's job? Is just to get what's it called? The information to bribe someone with. There's a word for that. Oh, whatever. Just what is it called? Hang on, I'll look it up. But yeah, the situation here now becomes yes, compliment. Thank you. How many other people are going to lose their jobs over this? I mean, Tony Gonzalez, that was a weird sports trade. We'll give you Tony Gonzalez if you give us Eric Swalwell. But is Gallego going to go down? And for the people who are not as close to this, he's his best friend. He has gone on trips with him. He was his campaign manager when Swalwell had his brief run for president. And it's hard to believe that this guy didn't know about it. So, who else could go down? I'll be playing that audio next segment. Yeah. Well, that kind of breaks my heart, but I don't think you're wrong. All right, Tim Young, how do people find your great work online? There you go. I follow him on Instagram and X. That's my recommendation, Tim Young. You would have known about all this 2 days ago and not have to hear about it piecemeal through the James Show. Thank you very much again, Tim. Coming up next, I'll play you some of that audio that Tim had just mentioned. Gallego had a very awkward press conference. He looked a little nervous, looked kind of sweaty, like a hooker in church. You'll hear it next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So, is Eric Swalwell going to jail? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You're home for Mark Lee Van Camp and Robbins. It's the midday show on WBAP. But listen, Eric Swalwell dropping out of the governor's race. All right, that's pretty big punishment for a politician. Not being able to retain your Congress seat because it's too late for you to file to run again, that kind of hurts too. Having to resign now and not even finish the term you're currently in, that's kind of a pain as well. But what Eric Swalwell did has gone past the line of unethical into a further boundary of illegal. Allegedly, reportedly, whatever adverbs I have to put in there to not get sued. But with some of the videos that are now showing up, it's looking really bad. There's a video of him hugging on some young lady in a hotel or motel is how the video is labeled. I don't know. You can tell they're inside. You can tell they're on a bed. And there's an extended clip of it that I just saw for the first time today with the 4 seconds after that. And what you see is Eric Swalwell on a bed with a scantily clad lady that very well could be a working girl, judged on how they dress around here in downtown Dallas. And he's kind of hugging and he kisses her on the mouth, which is kind of like, ew. I mean, considering what she does for a living, not trying to be gross. I know kids are in the car. I'll keep it clean. And then there's another dude on the bed next to him who kind of leans forward and is kind of giggling for a second there. And then you see a woman come into the room far in the background. She's kind of in the shadows. You can't see her very well. I think she's blonde, but she has long, straight hair. And so I assume it's a woman. And it's more of a silhouette than anything. Comes in the room in the deep background. And so you add this up. Well, there's Eric Swalwell. There's the working girl. There's the other dude on the bed. There's a lady in the background. And you assume there has to be someone holding the camera. So we now have 5 people in this nice-looking motel room with Eric Swalwell and a lady that's not his wife. So this isn't a secret. Just from seeing that little 6 seconds worth of video there, you know that this is a well-known behavior pattern. You know that this is including a lot of people. You know he was sloppy about it. He was doing this while he was being recorded. He knew he was being recorded. He still didn't care. Okay, so this is pretty bad, right? Now here's where it gets awful. The new theory online is it's a girl holding the camera, and she may be underage. Which, okay, that is even by my libertarian sensibilities, that's illegal. And also, the other guy, you can't really see him that well. You can kind of see the back and side of his head for a brief 1 second. Is that Gallego? So Gallego had to give a press conference yesterday, and Tim had mentioned this in the last segment. You hear what he's saying, but just know he looks nervous. He looks like you just got called into HR and it's layoff time. Been there? So here's Gallego answering some questions. Forget what his original statements were. It was all trash. The good part is when they started asking questions. And the first question was, hey, I thought y'all were best friends. How could you have not known anything?
Swalwell have called you his best friend. You have never asked him about any of the rumors that have been swirling around Democratic politics of his inappropriate behavior?
I did. Look, we knew each other differently from everyone else. My family and his family were as close as it gets. Our kids were in baseball camp together. You know, we had dinner together as a family. It was entirely different, I think, what people understand. But when there was rumors going around a couple of weeks ago, not of the folks in whatever in San Francisco Chronicle, I did ask him, and he lied to me. He knew that I just came off a very, very hard campaign for 2 years, where they lied about me and my family for 2 years. He manipulated me to have the same sentiment that I was having back in the day and used as an opportunity to move me to defend him.
I don't know. That's not very viable. Sorry about the microphone hiss that's on there, and I tried to clean it up a little bit, but your best friend doesn't know? Your best friend knows. He's just keeping his mouth shut, right? If you're that bold in front of 4 other people while you're being videoed, Your best friend definitely knows. He might not know the depth. He might not know about the non-consensual stories here, but he knows that you're a creeper. And look, a lot of us struggle with this because there's some people listening right now. It might be you. Do you have a friend who's cheated on their spouse and then you were stuck with a horrible moral dilemma? Well, do I tell the spouse? Do I tell anyone? Do I keep this secret? So Gallego asked again, because no, I don't think even any of the reporters believe that. You don't know anything, nothing. You didn't, okay, maybe you didn't know about the alleged rapes or sexual assaults or whatever, but you didn't know about this other philandering. Come on.
A couple of days ago.
How did you not know about the allegations? So considering you chaired his presidential campaign, wouldn't some of this have come up? Some of those allegations predated when he ran for office.
Again, this man led a double life. He lied to us. He lied to his family, lied to his constituents. Some of the most powerful people in this country, even before he ran, he was trusted with some positions that normally we would never think someone like this could do if they're leading that double life. And again, I was manipulated, I was lied to, and everyone else was too.
No, I don't think you were manipulated and lied to. I think you knew. I think you kept your mouth shut because this is the game you play. And people of power do this so often that they have a designated fund to settle such things in Congress, which is crazy. Sexual harassment complaints have a designated slush fund of your dollars that are used to pay it off. We don't even make the congressmen pay for their own sexual deviancies and the legal issues that come with it. So Gallego was then asked a pretty important question. If you're this easily defrauded by your best friend and you've exhibited such poor judgment, what's going on with your future? You going to have to step down? Do you think you still have the trust of your voters?
You have future political ambitions. How can people trust you to run for higher office if you didn't know that your best friend was engaging in even inappropriate behavior?
Look, I messed up. I'm human. I trusted this man.
That's it. I messed up. I'm human. I trusted him. Can't blame me. I didn't know. Yeah, you knew, dude. You knew. I've been there. You've been there. I had a coworker who was cheating on her husband. And you know what? I just went home, told Miss Parker, and then we just let that boat sail off into the horizon. We didn't even mess with it. So if Gallego came out and said that, I think that would be more believable than I didn't know anything. He was leading this double life. He was just lying to all of us. And because he's lying about this, and also because his sweaty, nervous delivery, he definitely knew. In fact, he knew so much he can't tell you the truth. So he's trying to sell you this lie. It's not believable he didn't know anything. It's just not. You've been in that situation. You know how you would react if you were asked these questions. If I was asked about my friend, I'd be like, yeah, I knew. I just didn't want to say anything. I didn't know. Maybe they had an open relationship and they were cool like that. Or, maybe she would just quit and patch things up with her husband and no one would be worse for the wear. Maybe it's just none of my damn business. But no, not he's leading a double life and he fooled all of us. I'm just a human being who makes mistakes. No, now you're compounding your previous lies with new lies and it's making you look worse, buddy. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Is it possible that this guy didn't know anything about the sexual misdeeds of Eric Swalwell? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Do you believe these people when they say they didn't know anything about what Eric Swalwell was up to? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Yeah, and the term I was looking for a couple seconds ago, compromat. You ever heard of that before? That is compromising material. It is a compound word that we got from the Russians, because that's what they would do. The KGB would go find you, they would honeypot you, they would get you in a compromising position, and they would use that material as blackmail to control you. And so Eric Swalwell is a controlled guy. And if everyone's kind of going along with it, that is the best explanation on why in the videos that we've seen circulated around over the weekend, that he didn't care if he was being filmed with a prostitute. He didn't care that someone else had a camera out. Because why? Well, who's going to find out? The party already knows. The outside world's not going to find out. They'll cover for him. The media is going to cover for him. But the question becomes, how many people in Congress have compromat? How many of them are compromised? How many of them are just doing whatever they're told to do? They get to live the good life. They get to be on TV. They get to be millionaires. They get to make money. They get to do all kinds of nasty sex stuff. All you got to do is vote the way the machine tells you, say what they tell you to say, and you can live an amazing life. Doesn't this explain why some people go to DC and they turn into completely different people? Doesn't that explain why so many newcomers who haven't spent their whole life in politics will come up and tell you they're like, yes, I'm going to go vote against all wars, and I'm going to get you tax cuts, and I'm going to shrink the size of government, and I'm not going to vote for 1 cent of spending increases. And then they go there and government grows and keeps doing its own thing. A great explanation for that is they've been compromised. So when Ruben Gallego says, I didn't know anything, he was living a double life, he had us all fooled, it's not believable. I understand it's possible. It's just not probable. Carolyn Levitt was asked about the Eric Swalwell situation at her press conference today. She didn't have a whole lot to say, but it kind of gives you an idea that more's coming.
Yeah, look, I think the accusations and allegations against former Representative Swalwell are despicable and disgusting. I think it's also quite plausible, as you point out, Jack, that there were many other Democrats in this town on Capitol Hill who knew about his perhaps illegal behavior, certainly his disgusting and inappropriate behavior, and why were they silent for so long? I think those are questions that must be raised of these sitting representatives, including Mr. Gallego, and I hope that the journalists in this room will do their jobs, and the journalists on Capitol Hill will do their jobs to ask Democrats in power how they knew about such despicable behavior from one of their elected representatives for so long, but never said or did anything about it. So that's what we hope to see as far as the White House and the president is concerned. Thank you.
So I hope more people are going to start falling. But this also explains the whole Jeffrey Epstein situation. It seemed to be a known, air quote, secret. Why is everyone okay with this? Well, because these people are now controlled. It makes more sense than no one knew anything and he's just so clever he faked everyone out and even his best friend had no idea. Stop it. That's not really... It's not really that believable. And I just want to stress again, as especially a social libertarian, the prostitution part doesn't even bother me. I've never had a prostitute. I hope I will never get a prostitute. I don't foresee a situation when I will get one. But I'm not like some holier than thou Christian on this one. I recognize reading history that this has happened in every society since the beginning of time and will probably be with us throughout all of human history. It's like, okay, well, I guess a lot of people don't agree with me on this issue and they're willing to, I'm willing to allow consenting adults to make whatever bargain they want to make. The problems I have with this are, number one, the rapes. If he really did take advantage of girls, especially if he drugged them and then did it. Number two, there is something to be said about the sexual harassment of a boss to a staffer. If you are leveraging your power over somebody to get sex you otherwise wouldn't get, that should be illegal, shouldn't it? I don't even know what you would call that, and I don't think there's a law against it, but that's bad. That's beyond just the unethical, well, he's cheating on his wife. Whoop-de-doo. But really, I think what we all need to just separate the sex aspect from it because it kind of clouds us emotionally and just realize that this really does prove that there is a deep state. There is a cabal because Eric Swalwell is not the guy in power under this worldview that has just been proven by this Swalwell scandal. Who is the wizard behind the curtain that is telling Eric Swalwell what to say and how to vote? Who is blackmailing Eric Swalwell? And if we find that out, we'll find out who's really in charge of this country. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. This is Aaron in Plano. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, I'm enjoying the representation of Patrick Fallon now because of Van Taylor, because of this a cheating scandal, had to pretty much give up his seat. It's something that I guess we wouldn't. No, I didn't tolerate it, but I like Pat Fallon a lot better anyway.
Okay.
And you remember Chris Dodd and Ted Kennedy and the waitress sandwich story?
Yeah, on the pool table. Look, I gotta stress. I know this is there's a lot of nuance I'm asking for here, but the cheating on your wife and the getting with prostitutes, I don't think is a deal breaker, nor should it be. If a guy was in there and he was voting the way I wanted to vote, and he was actually upholding the Constitution, and he was trying to balance the budget, and he was trying to shrink government, and he was voting everything right, I would be willing to overlook that, especially because it's so rare and I can't find a guy to replace him. But it sure does it cuts you at the knees for a lot of other stuff if you want discretion. And I mean, it's tempting. It's there. You're in power, and believe me, you're going to be in the high income circles with just high dollar looks from everyone. Mm-hmm. I can see where it can happen to be weak, but I mean, do they prep these people for any of this stuff? I mean, it's like, it should be 101, behavioral sciences 101. And okay, but listen. We can't get too far pushing the pedal on morality here because Donald Trump has cheated on all three of his wives. We have Ben Franklin, who was seeing prostitutes and spreading diseases that would be frowned upon in modern times as far as our moral sensibilities go. But aren't we glad we didn't kick him out of the Constitutional Convention for some Puritan rules?
Yeah, but I mean, if it's public and it's known going in, that's kind of one thing. But if you start compromising who you are and what you are, I mean, there's always something. There's always a shiv that's about the right size,
Ooh, that's a great metaphor. All right, thank you, Aaron. That's Aaron in Plano, ending on a strong note there. All right, come on out tomorrow. We're doing the Parker Pour at the Omni Fort Worth Hotel. I'm doing a live show from 2 to 5. There will be trivia at 5:30 and 6:30, and our special guest of honor. You get a chance to meet not just me, but also Miss Parker. Hi, Miss Parker. Coming up next, Michelle Obama says the United States is janky. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Are you janky? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Michelle Obama said America is in a janky phase right now. See, when she was in power, when her husband was in power, I guess it probably wasn't janky then. Then it was good. But now this is being run by evil old Whitey again. Janky.
We talk about how do you feel about the country. You know, there are versions of the country that happen, right? And the new version doesn't make the old one bad. It's necessary for growth. And I think we're in just a janky version, right?
Yeah, janky's right.
It's a janky version right now.
May I curse, Mrs. Obama?
You may.
Yeah, is jank right now. It's super jank.
Yes. Yeah, it's very.
He's not gonna be happy with that. But I couldn't find another like adjective. I couldn't find another similar metaphor here.
Yeah. You know, they really don't love this country. They really don't. She goes on to, and later in the same interview, the other guy is, I'd never heard of him before, Hassan Minhaj. I don't know. He didn't seem to be that bad of a host. I mean, I disagree with him politically, but from what I heard, he sounded okay. Just weird worldview. This is her later in the same interview, sort of explaining that janky adjective.
Minnesota, powerful stuff. I mean, it was a powerful reminder of what a community of people can do and are willing to do to protect one another. Yeah. You know, when you're not so janky, you don't have to prove that, right? And so we haven't been this janky for a while. And I think our muscle of understanding our truth just got a little lax. We started taking things for granted.
Our truth. So they had on CNN last night, the Abby Phillips show. Sitting in for Scott Jennings is some other blonde lady. I didn't recognize her. However, she did have Scott Jennings' role. She is sitting at a table with 4 people who disagree with her strongly. And she wasn't too happy about the Michelle Obama calling our country janky. And her name's Emily Austin. You'll hear her for a little bit in this clip. But the main guy you're going to hear is Bakari Sellers, who was responding to the criticism of Michelle Obama calling this country janky. And, I mean, he just made it all about race, and that just turns people's brains off, and they don't want to have a real conversation. But I think he accidentally tells what's really on his heart here.
And all she's doing is speaking her mind right now. And the trouble that Republicans have, and the trouble that you have, Emily, it's fascinating to watch, is that when you have a black woman who is speaking her truth.
This is not about skin color, Bakari.
No, I'm just saying. Because everyone has this same, it's the same reverberation. When you have a black woman that's speaking her truth, the way that she is, with the power that she is, with the education that she does, there's no comparison between Michelle Obama and Melania Trump. You want to talk about education level? You want to talk about job
attainment? I'm just not playing identity
no.
politics.
No,
I think Gavin
not
Newsom's wife is an idiot too, and she's white.
We're not even talking about.
You know, and she was actually making a good point there. Gavin Newsom's wife is an idiot, and she's white. So Emily Austin was bringing in the counter example. No, this isn't all about race. This has nothing to do with race. But Bakari thinks it's all about race, and so Bakari is showing kind of what's in Michelle Obama's heart. The reason why he agrees this country is janky and wasn't janky under the Obamas, he is basing that on race. He does see race as the pivotal piece of information he knows to make a decision about something or someone. He's a racist. And so America wasn't janky when it was run by black people, but now it's run by an evil, straight, white Christian male. Janky. That's all he needs. And that's all he's got. That's the level of depth that he just brought to that conversation. So do you think we're janky? Are we going through our janky era? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Hey, still coming up before the end of the show, we're doing the Kid Rock contest. I'm not going to play you the clip now, but when you hear a snippet of Till You Can't from Kid Rock, you're going to want to call in immediately. Now, I'm not going to give you the tickets straight up. I'm not going to take the third caller and whoever it is gets the tickets. I'm going to ask you in one sentence, tell me what the song means to you, and then me and the judges will pick out of the 3 answers who gets the tickets. Now, I'm giving away tickets every day this week, so 5 people are going to win. 1 couple is going to be upgraded to premium tickets, so they'll get better seats, they'll get a meet and greet with Kid Rock, and they will get some VIP merchandise. So listen for the song snippet of Till You Can't now till the end of the show. For those of you who just want to go to Kid Rock Freedom 250 Tour, it's happening May 1st, Dos Equis Pavilion here in Dallas, livenation.com. All right, coming up next on The James Show. Locally speaking, we have a problem with cops and prostitutes. It's not just Eric Swalwell. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Hey, thank you. Thank you very much for hanging out today. Let it go, because I got a lot to get to. First, I want to come back to this Iran situation here. We have the Straits of Hormuz that are being double blocked. We have gas prices that are up. We have the economy that isn't shaking yet, but if this continues, there's going to be some business owners who are thinking, well, I don't know if I want to open another branch until I see if gas prices go back down or some price of one of my inputs has gone up, or, just uncertainty is all it takes. You don't even have to have bad news. You don't even have to have bad things happening to you. Just the mere uncertainty of the situation can grind on the economy. And so I think you want this to end as soon as possible. I want this to end as soon as possible. The only people who don't really care are the people who are in charge of Iran right now. The Iranian people want this to end as soon as possible. Whether or not they're going to get stuck with the same type of leadership or not is secondary. They would rather go ahead and find out what the end of this movie looks like. But the leaders in Iran, they've got all the time in the world. In fact, time is very much on their side. The most powerful tool the Iranians have right now isn't even the Straits of Hormuz. It's time. They know if they can create some grief that Donald Trump may be cut off at the knees by the next Congress, because listen, what's going to happen. If the midterms go south and he loses a majority in the House of Representatives, it's going to be impeachment time. It's just for the next 2 years, it's going to be investigations, it's going to be subpoenas, it's going to be hearings, and it's going to be impeachments. They'll find a reason, and it'll happen. And so then he's done. Then he's not getting anything done domestically. And that doesn't mean the war is going to be over, but that just means he's going to be very occupied with other things. And then all they have to do is wait out the clock for 2 years. Someone else is going to come in, and if it's going to be a Team Blue member, then guess what? They can go back to normal. And they won. And when I say won, I mean they lost a lot of military equipment, they lost a lot of leaders, they lost a lot of personnel. But the theocrats, the socialist theocrats in Iran would still be in charge. That's what we're looking at now. However, we need this thing to end. Not just politically speaking, but for your pocketbook. You would like gas prices to go back down. I remember on Christmas, there was at one of the grocery stores in Buck Tussle where they sell gas out front. It was $1.99. I would like to get back to that. We don't have to get back to that for my life to be better. $2.50 would be good. Hell, I'd be happy with $3 right now. But you got to start thinking long term here. If we leave Iran right now, we're going to have the same problems that we had before. They're still going to be the world's biggest sponsor of terrorism. They're still going to be supporting Hezbollah, which has given us grief in Israel and Lebanon, and a little bit Syria too. We're still going to have problems with Hamas, which is also Israel, West Bank, Gaza. We're still going to have problems with the Houthi rebels down in Yemen. So you got to ask yourself, where does all this dedication come from? Why do all of these countries, or so many people, so many movements, hate the Jews and America so bad? Because we're the great Satan, they're the little Satan. Or is it backwards? Is Israel the great Satan and we're the Satans? Or whatever. But these two entities, yes, we share a culture. We share the foundation of our religion together. But this isn't a religious-based hatred. Because the Muslims have a problem with us, sure. Chinese don't like us. Yeah. They're not a big fan of Israel or America. The Marxists don't like us. The Eastern European Marxist model doesn't like us. The old Russian communists. They certainly don't like Israel, and they don't like America. Nazis didn't like Israel or America. The modern American left, academia, Hollywood, your favorite musicians, except for like Kid Rock and Ted Nugent, all feel the same way. Why do all of these disparate groups of people who otherwise have nothing in common, why do they all hate America in general and Israel? And Thomas Sowell did it perfect. Now, he was asked, why are the Jews so hated? But this applies to America and Israel in general. And this is the perfect answer.
In terms of violence, the number of Chinese killed, let's say, in 1 year, and by mob action exceeds all the blacks lynched in the entire history of the United States. And the number of Armenians killed in Turkey, during the First World War, is greater than that. And of course, the number of Jews slaughtered on a number of occasions in history, even before the Holocaust, is greater than that. So that the question is, why this particular kind of people are the targets of so much venomous hatred? And I think the answer is that they not only succeed, they succeed in a way which is the threat to the egos of other people. But the guy who comes here, let's say from Vietnam or Korea, and arrives here with little more than the clothes on his back and a few words of broken English, and a decade later he has his own little business, and you see his son a few years after that getting ready to go off to Harvard or MIT, you got to ask yourself, you've either got to, you've got to hate yourself for saying, my God, I've been stagnating, this guy was nothing, and now he's risen up, or you're going to have to hate him. Years ago, one official of one of the Jewish organizations in New York asked me, well, what can Jews themselves do in order to minimize the hostility they face? And I gave him a one-word answer: fail. Because as long as you succeed, you're going to be hated.
That's it. It really is that simple. It's just flat out base human envy multiplied by the frustration of you being told by all your teachers, all your professors, all your favorite actors and musicians and people on TV and politicians and news media that the capitalist way of doing things is wrong. The socialist way is better. The Christian way of doing things is wrong. Our values are better. But then when you apply these things to the real world, the people that follow Judeo-Christian morals, values, and ethics, the people that follow free market capitalism more so than central planned socialism, they keep over and over and over succeeding in the face of expectations. Wrong expectations, but expectations nonetheless. That's where it comes from. We are proving them wrong with our success every single day. Israel is proving the rest of the Middle East wrong with their success every single day. They don't have any oil. It's like one of the only spots, them and Jordan are like the only spots in the Middle East that don't have oil. Why do they have such a big economy? Why do they have nice, glowing, shiny skyscrapers and office buildings? Why are they coming up with all these patents and inventions and trade and companies and businesses and innovations? And you're not getting nearly that out of Iran or Iraq or UAE or Saudi Arabia, because our success embarrasses them and proves their failure every day. That's why we're hated. Coming up next, local cops and prostitutes should not be doing business. Wouldn't you agree? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You know, if there's prostitutes just everywhere at all times, even in police stations, maybe we should make it legal, right? I'm James Parker. This is The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You're home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Make no mistake about it. I mean, I'm not pro-prostitute. I'm not encouraging anyone into that lifestyle. I definitely don't want your daughters to choose that as their profession, nor mine. But apparently, some people are okay with it. A lot of people are okay with it. Cops are okay with it. Here's an update from a story that you've probably seen floating around, but now it became official. The charges have come down against this group of people from Godley. Just terrible irony for a name of a town like this. This is WFAA's report on Godley.
Brand new details on an alleged prostitution conspiracy in Johnson County. Prosecutors say Michael and Ashley Ketcherside took part in a prostitution scheme. An arrest affidavit says Ashley would engage in prostitution with former Godley police officer Solomon Amatoya and former Godley police chief Matthew Cantrell. It also accuses Cantrell of gathering information on people viewed as their enemies. Cantrell is charged with promotion of prostitution.
All right, so the police chiefs rolled up into it. Some other cops are rolled up into it. All right, that's a small town. Now, here's where it gets, I don't want to say unnerving, but like, is it really this bad? I was thinking about doing that this morning, and Bruce had brought it up to me, so I was like, you know what? I was thinking about doing that anyway. I definitely should do that topic. So I go to look it up. And it turns out Bruce was telling me about a different story. I thought he was talking about the Godley story. No, yesterday, there was the Dallas police saw a black SUV pulled over off Willowbrook Road, and it looked like there were two prostitutes leaning into the window having a chat. Well, they've seen this before. Let's see what we can do. Get this settled here. So they wait for the guy to pull off, and then they turn on the lights to do a stop. The guy doesn't stop. In fact, the guy rolls through the next red light, loses the cops, takes off, and the cops just say, well, we're not going to pursue this. We're going to break off the pursuit. They broke off the pursuit. And then they use their dash cam video to go back and see what the guy's license plate is. They go and they run the plates for the car, and it turns out this isn't owned by some random dude. It's owned by the city of Dallas. Oh, no. Oh, jeez. Oh, my God. Yeah, it's another cop. He's this guy who's been a cop. Another Gonzalez, by the way. That's two Gonzalez sex crimes in the same show. But he's been in the Dallas police force since August 2010. He's in the criminal intelligence division. This doesn't seem very intelligent to be picking up hookers in broad daylight in your city-owned car running from cops, but he's not going to be a cop very long. And it just kind of floors you because you have a life that is prostitute-free, and you just kind of assume that's what everyone else is going through. Meanwhile, if I'm trying to look up a cop prostitution story, I'm falling over 6 other cop prostitution stories to try to get to the original one. And this makes me feel like even more libertarian than ever. Like, this is how I felt when they found cocaine in the White House. And you and I both know it was Hunter Biden's cocaine. Don't lie to me. It's of course it was Hunter Biden's cocaine. Who do you think left it in there? Jill Biden? So at that point, I felt like we've lost the war on drugs. There's been a war on drugs from Richard Nixon until now. Listen, guys, we gave it a good 50, 55 years, and it's just not working out. Drugs won. When there's a baggie of cocaine left by the president's son in the White House, and it's not even that big of a deal. No one's solved the crime. No one needs to get to the bottom of this mystery. Because if it's not Hunter Biden, we have ourselves a big national security issue here. But you and I both know it is, and no one cares. No, it wasn't a deal breaker. It's not. No one's calling for him to go to jail. Drugs won the war on drugs. I don't know if we have an unofficial war on prostitution, but don't even try, because I think we're going to lose that one too for the same reasons. I mean, we got prostitutes everywhere, like all over the show today. Eric Swalwell wasn't just cheating on his wife. Eric Swalwell was paying for some of that. So here's just another instance where, man, look, I guess they're just everywhere. I guess we're never going to get rid of them. And I'm not saying it's never going to get better, or we shouldn't try and minimize it as much as possible. But my libertarian sensibilities are kicking in. At this point, just legalize it. Just, if everyone's doing it anyway, just like drugs. If everyone's on drugs anyway, just legalize it. Can we just... This is a fight we're not going to win. And it's just embarrassing to keep trying. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. All right, keep listening, because between now and the end of the show, you are going to hear a snippet of Kid Rock's Till You Can't. You are going to want to call in then. And I'm only going to ask you to give 30 seconds, a minute tops, of what the song means to you. We'll take 3 callers. We'll award the tickets, the prize, based on which one me and the judges think is the best caller. And so every day someone's getting a pair of tickets to the concert, Kid Rock's Freedom Tour. Now, it's happening May 1st. It's just in a couple weeks. It's going to be him and Brantley Gilbert. But someone out of the 5 that win during the week is going to get upgraded to the VIP tickets. The VIP merch will come with it. And the coolest part is the meet and greet with Kid Rock. So listen for Till You Can. I'm just going to play a snippet of it, and then you're going to call in the regular call-in line, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we finally have some punishment for the Democrat state representatives that broke the quorum last year. Remember when they fled the state and went to Oklahoma? Well, find out what their punishment is next, and you're going to be very disappointed. On The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, James Parker here for QC Kinetics. You are joining me on my journey. I am doing what many, maybe most of you do. I have a little bit of pain, and I just live with it. And I don't even really think about it because it's not that bad. But I have a bad back, and it's not from one specific thing. I didn't get hit by a dart train. I wasn't in a bullfighting accident. But I did play a lot of football growing up, played a lot of soccer growing up. I moved furniture, like I was a house mover for a while as a side job. I lift weights, I jog, I'm pretty active. And every once in a while, my back hurts. Every once in a while, I wake up and I'm stiff. Every once in a while, I sneeze wrong and my back hurts for an entire day. So I went to QC Kinetics and I started yesterday. I got my first treatment. They took some blood out of me. They centrifuged it out. They put back in platelet-rich plasma, PRP, if you want to look more into that. And it's going to be a series here, and you're going to go through it because I'm not just getting one treatment. I'm going to have to go back in either 2 weeks or a month. They'll evaluate me, and I'll just keep getting different treatments, different angles, different times until the problem is dealt with properly. And so on my first treatment, I do feel a little bit better. I lifted weights this morning, and on the leg press machine, usually when I sit in it and I do that first push, I can feel it in the bottom of my back kind of tighten up like season, like, oh, that's a lot of weight. It didn't really do that today. I didn't have like the sort of muscle spasm that comes with any time you pick up heavy weights. I still feel a little discomfort and it's still a little sore after working out, but it's already a little bit better and it's only been one day. So stick with me through this journey. If you're having pain, maybe you should do something about it. You don't want surgery. You don't want downtime. You don't want drugs. You don't want to be put under. You don't want to miss work. Look, I'm back at work the next day. No problems. You want to try it? Go to qckinetics.com. qckinetics.com. 972-972-8610. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, and I do want to meet you. Come on out to the Parker's Pours tomorrow. I'll be at the Whiskey and Rye. It's the lobby bar in the Omni Fort Worth Hotel, downtown Fort Worth. Doing a live show from 2 to 5, trivia at 5:30 and 6:30, and tons of giveaways. If the earlier you get there, the more chances you'll have to win a giveaway. But think about this. If you get there when the show starts and put your name in the box, you fill out one of those little pieces of paper and put it in the promotions table box, you're going to have a chance to win something at an Eatsy's gift certificate at 12:15, a Gigi's gift certificate at 2:30, a Whiskey and Rye gift certificate at 2:45. So every 15 minutes, you're going to win something. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 chances to win. Some of them are gift certificates. We have 2 pairs of Rangers tickets in there. So you have a really good chance of winning something if you put your name in the box at the beginning of the show. But I know why most people are really going to come out there. It's not for me. It's for the good drinks, and also it's your first chance to meet Miss Parker.
Hi, Miss Parker.
She's making her first public appearance at a WBAP event. So come on out there. All right, now that's out the way. Gonna take care of this part.
You got a chance, take it while you got a chance. If you got a dream, chase it.
All right, so this is the sounder for Kid Rock's If You Can't. Well, I mean, he's covering someone else's song, but Kid Rock singing If You Can't. This is your cue to call in right now if you want to try and win some Kid Rock tickets. He's going to be at the Dos Equis Pavilion on May 1st, and it's part of his America 250 tour. Someone's going to win a pair of tickets right now. You're going to call in. You're going to give me 1 or 2 sentences on what that song means to you. And then from the daily winners this week, someone's going to get upgraded to a pair of VIP tickets and VIP merch. And the coolest part, a meet and greet with Kid Rock himself. Call in right now. 800-288-9227. Yeah, and that song, it was already a good song, but when he added the extra verse about the Bible and whatnot, I think that put it over the top for a lot of people. This just shifted from a very sentimental, meaningful song into what's almost a hymnal, which is kind of cool. Someone singing a positive Christian-themed verse. Just not even a whole song, just one verse during Super Bowl halftime. Too bad it wasn't the real Super Bowl halftime show. Ryan in Bedford, tell me, what does that song mean to you?
The song means, I'm going to take a different angle on this. To me, it means salvation. The third verse that Kid Rock put into the song, basically salvation, giving your life to him before it's all said and done. Get her done.
Love it. Okay, that's Ryan in Bedford. It's a good first contestant here. Next one, Richard in Shady Shores. What does the song mean to you?
Well, I've got a brother-in-law that actually has been around Kid Rock on a location, and he said he was a very, very humble man, and he had accepted the Lord Jesus Christ into his life like we all should, and I think we all should live our lives like we've got 6 months to live, and humble yourself before the Lord, and family is always number one.
Good stuff. All right. Well, there's 2. They made this contest sound easy, but you guys make it hard. Stop saying good things. Brandon's the next one. Brandon and Lucas, what does the Kid Rock song mean to you?
Hey, my dad passed away a couple of years ago, and he was not with the Lord, and he didn't have that faith with him, and that song means to me that don't take anything for granted, because when you lose something, you don't know when you're going to get time to get it back, and that's what it means to me.
Okay, there's Brandon and Lucas. Judges, we want to confer. Hold up the number you think should win. You have a strong... I was thinking that too. All right. The judge, you in on this one? Okay, so it's unanimous. Well, that makes it easy then. Ryan, Bedford, You're a big winner, bud. All right, now, first, Ryan in Bedford, are you going to be able to go May 1st?
Absolutely, yes, sir. I'm going to take my stepson with me.
Well, that's fantastic. All right, we'll go make some memories here. So, Ryan in Bedford just won 2 tickets to Kid Rock's concert on May 1st. He's going to be thrown into the hopper to be the grand prize winner for the VIP tickets, the VIP merch, and the Kid Rock meet and greet. If you're a little disappointed you didn't get to win today, I'm doing this again tomorrow and Friday, so tune in for that. Coming up next, the media just can't take a joke from Donald Trump. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, you know the media doesn't have a sense of humor, but this is so bad it's actually funny on accident. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You know, I played the Carolyn Levitt, the White House spokesman, had a press conference about an hour before the James Show started today, and she was asked about a bunch of topics. And I didn't play them all back to back. When we were talking about Iran, I played Iran. When we were talking about Swalwell, I played her comments on Swalwell. But this doesn't fit in anywhere else. I'm just going to have to throw it in at the end of the show here. This lady in the press, don't just listen to what she's saying. Listen to how just dripping with condescension she is. Just listen to how smarmy this question is. And any normal person, any rational person who has an IQ higher than a rock would know that Donald Trump was telling a joke here.
First of all, there was an interview that Dr. Mehmet Oz did recently where he described the president's views on his own diet. He said that he argued that diet soda is good for him because it kills grass. And if you pour it onto the grass, the grass is killed and it therefore must kill cancer cells. I'm wondering if you can, was this sort of an accurate description of how the president sees?
Look, as we all know in this room, I think you know the president has a very good sense of humor. It's one of his most underreported characteristics, I would say. I have heard him tell this joke before. I think the Wall Street Journal should get a better sense of humor.
It was a joke. Does anybody really think Diet Coke can cure cancer? Does anybody really think the ability to kill grass translates into cancer treatment? I mean, is there someone who, and I don't want to make fun of anyone who has, mental shortcomings here, but is there some guy who has a head wound and is now living as like a 4-year-old child in an adult body that thinks Diet Coke could kill cancer? I'm not even sure if the dumbest, most mentally compromised person available to us on planet Earth would think that's a real statement. Yet this person in the media just throws all of her sense out the window in an attempt to make Trump look stupid. It is just, they're embarrassing themselves, the lengths that they're going to. Also, wanted to leave you with a very disappointing update. Michael Quinn Sullivan from Texas Scorecard, one of the few people in broadcasting that's taller than me, gave me some really lame news about the Texas Democrats, the state representatives that fled last year so they could break the quorum, so they could preserve whatever. They're finally going to be punished, and it's nothing.
In a 6-5 party line vote, the Texas House Administration Committee imposed fines on Friday for quorum-breaking Democrats. The penalty stemmed from Democrats' coordinated walkout during the legislature's special sessions last year, which temporarily halted proceedings by denying the chamber a constitutionally defined quorum. Under House rules in place at the time, absent members faced a $500 per day fine and were required to reimburse a share of the enforcement costs, including those expenses incurred by the Texas Department of Public Safety. The committee's action amounts to a fine of $8,354 per lawmaker, about $1,000 less than earlier estimates after penalties for 2 Sundays were removed.
$8,300. That's their only punishment. Really? You didn't lose any committee assignments. You didn't lose any seniority or rankings. You didn't lose any chairs. You didn't lose any. You're losing $8,000. You didn't even lose your parking spot. So what's their incentive to not do this in the future? None. I mean, this is barely a slap on the wrist. Metaphorically, this is probably what slap on the wrist means. Oh, no, not an $8,000 fine. How will that ever be covered? All it takes is one guy out there stroking a check who can cover all of them in one fell swoop. Because, I mean, how many ran? Wasn't it like 100 or was it 200? I think it was somewhere around 100. So what are you going to get? $800,000? It's not even going to cost $1 million to settle all this. And this basically not a punishment at all. So what do you take away from that? There's going to be another Texas legislative session next year about this time. And if they don't get their way, expect them to run again. Why wouldn't you? What's the downside? There is no downside. You get all kinds of good press. You might get your legislative proposals supported or defeated, whichever one you're trying to do. And this means something. It also means the Republicans that are in power, not you, not small r Republicans, but capital R Republicans in Austin, they're okay with that. Probably in on it. I have one more clip I'm going to squeeze in here just because it was too funny. There was a teacher that was doing some after-school tutoring in a small session with 6 other kids. And the second she starts the video, she says her first sentence, and then she absolutely rips one. And the kids just, hang on, and the kids just die laughing.
Most of us are here, so if you want to pull out your Journeys book.
What was that? What was that? I think she farted. Was that you? That was a big one.
All right, it's hard not to smile after listening to that. The teacher's reaction was cute as well because she made the most guilty face and she was so embarrassed. And it's funnier if it's like a cute young lady farting versus someone like myself. Then it'd be like, oh, gross, listen to this nasty animal just ripping one on a Zoom call. So, one more reminder. Tomorrow is the next Parker's Pour. We're going to do a live remote from the Omni Fort Worth Hotel. The lobby bar is called Whiskey and Rye. And this is a special event because we have, 11 gift certificates to give away. We have Rangers tickets. We have gift certificates to Eatsies and Gigi's and the Whiskey and Rye Bar. We're going to play trivia after that at 5:30 and 6:30. It's going to be hosted by me, James Parker. I wrote all the questions. I looked up all the answers. I'm going to be grading them myself, but also I think the real draw for a lot of people, and I know this because you ask for her every time, our guest of honor is Miss Parker. I get asked by about half of the people when they come see me at the stock show or the previous Whiskey and Rye or when I was doing the remote at opening day. Where's Miss Parker? Miss Parker has a job, people. Miss Parker has 4 kids, and this is usually the time she's picking them up or going to go get them. Or she works usually until 4:35 most days. Every once in a while she gets to work from home and stuff, so she can't make it very often. So this is a very special occasion. So I hope you come out. You can meet me. See the show, meet Miss Parker, judge me based on my appearance, judge Miss Parker based on her appearance. All right. And then we'll have a few good drinks and have a good time. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.